Thank you, Steve. Appreciate everybody being here. Excuse me. So just, start out a couple words about the weekend and then certainly turn our attention to Illinois. First of all, again, just, really good to get the win. It was hard fought the other night and, proud of our football team. Statistics are important, I guess, but, the bottom line is trying to be successful in the game. And we made it difficult the other day. You think about time of possession, rushing yardage, those types of things. We lost the turnover battle, yet we were still able to come out on top. So really happy for our football team, proud of their effort there. A couple of things that probably counteracted some of that, the turnover thing, red zone defense really helped us out, keep them out of the end zone. They were down there 3 times, and we got 3 stops, forced them to get field goals. Came up with some critical plays offensively, some big plays, cashed in some opportunities, and then certainly in the kicking game, Caleb with a 50-yarder, and then that the one at the end, from a little bit of a challenging angle. The blocked field goal certainly was big, and then we turned that into a touchdown after that, and then certainly Torrey's punting in the fourth quarter, gave them a long field. So I think all those things allowed us to be successful, and just want to especially mention both Torrey and Caleb for the job they've been doing all season long. They've just really been, really dependable and a big part of our success, the success that we've had. And again, just an overall team effort. And like most of these games, November Big Ten games, they're going to go down to the wire. You got to expect that each and every week. So, and that being said, turn our attention to Illinois. First of all, I was just, very sorry to hear the news about Coach Bielema this morning. That's certainly not a good thing, and nothing he'd wish on anybody. And wish Brett the best for a speedy recovery. And probably just again continues to serve as a reminder for all of us that this thing's not over yet. I think all of us have to be mindful and as diligent as we possibly can, because it hasn't gone away. It seems like you read a lot about it in pro football, and that's kind of been enough for most of us, I think, to be aware. So I think everybody just takes the necessary precautions and be as smart as they can. And there's still no guarantees, obviously. And I guess in his life's a little bit like our life. It's not much going on other than being in the building or being at home. So it's real, part of what we're still experiencing. Regarding us for this game for captains, it'll be the same 4 guys. We'll have Tyler on offense, Linderbaum. You got Hankins, Kerner, and Campbell defensively. And then injury-wise, Terry Roberts won't make it back. Maybe not. I don't think so. I mean, maybe some special teams. I don't think so. He hasn't really been able to hit full throttle yet. Ivory, Kelly, Martin might be able to do a little special teams, but basically both those guys are still kind of in a holding pattern. And then Spencer, I think, has a chance to be fully healthy. He's had 2 pretty good days of practice, so we'll see how it looks here this week and go from there. And then, like most teams, we got a couple guys that are, nursing some injuries right now, and hopefully they'll be ready Saturday. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that. When you look at Illinois, big first obvious thing is it's a new staff. So, whole new system, new philosophy, et cetera. And then it's interesting, like last week, these guys have a really veteran football team. They can't remember, it was in the mid-20s, I think, the amount of super seniors that came back. So they've got a lot of veteran players at all positions. So they're really, an experienced team, but new to the system, if you will. It looks like things are merging and meshing pretty well. From what we can tell, it's been well received, and I think that was really signaled by, they got a victory in their first game of the season, Big Ten opponent, and I think that kind of said it all right there. And then you just look more recently, 2 out of the 3 last weeks, they've been on the road and beaten good teams in their stadiums, playing good football. So doing a really good job around the football. It's clear they want to do that, and that's a point of emphasis. I think they got a really good offensive line. They've got good backs. So they're doing a good job there. Quarterback's a good player. They've got good receivers. Tight end's been really active in the passing game. Then defensively, it's a whole new system. Coach Smith had a very distinct way of playing. This is totally new. And again, I think their players have really embraced it and done a really good job there. And then, when you look at their special teams, you talk about the super seniors, their specialists are just outstanding. They've got a really good kicking game. Punter's outstanding. Kicker's got a really strong leg. We can probably take the week off from our kickoff return team. I think they've had like 4 returns this whole season. So they've got a couple guys there that are really good football players, and they do a good job overall with their core guys. So that's kind of where that's at. And bottom line is they're a tough Big Ten football team. I think we're looking at another one of those, Big Ten contests in November. It's going to go right to the wire. So that's kind of where that's at. And then the other obvious thing, Saturday, we're saying goodbye to 16 seniors, as well as some other student managers, student helpers, videos, folks, all that. And a lot of people get involved to make this thing go and make the operation smooth, and really appreciate the efforts of all of them, especially our football players. So just really happy to see their efforts, their dedication, all the contributions they've given us, and all they've done to make our team successful. To see them be honored by the home crowd and have their families there, it's always a big thing, and it's always kind of a bittersweet day because it's like your kids leaving home. At some point, it's time for them to get off on their own and go to that next phase, next step. Yet, during that time, you establish bonds with these players. They're here 4 or 5 years typically, and a lot of really interesting moments, that type of thing. And this group, especially, think about the circumstances, all the crazy things that have gone on in the last 2 years, and the way they've handled everything and helped us have success during this period. I think it's really a tribute to them. So their work's not over yet. Certainly, they'll be honored before the game. Then most important is the game, and then we've got another game, and hopefully another game, and see where that all goes. So just happy for all those guys, certainly. And last but not least, just great to have our kid captain, Brandy Lochner from Robbins, is going to be with us. And Brandy beat bone cancer about 5 years ago, and then most recently had a heart transplant about a year ago as a result of the treatments, and she's doing really well. This is her first college game, I understand, and we're really thrilled to have her join us. So I'll throw it out for questions.
If Spencer's healthy, is he your starting quarterback, or is it Alex?
We even had that conversation, and Alex has been running the ones. So we're just trying to get Spencer back in the groove a little bit. He's there mentally, obviously, and just working through some missed time. And he's missed some throws he probably would make. So we'll see where it goes. But we're really comfortable with both guys.
How much is Spencer doing? You see he had 2 good days of practice. What does that mean?
Yeah, it just means he's taking all the twos, all the reps of the twos. So he's gotten a lot of work done. Looks good. And key thing was he wasn't sore today. Curious to see. Hasn't been tackled yet. That's another wild card. So there's a couple wild cards out there, but he looks good, and hopefully we're gaining ground. I think we are.
He's got a big arm, and he can hit just about any pass on the field, depth-wise. Has that taken a hit still with his shoulder trying to kind of work its way back?
I'd say it's more accuracy right now, just, missing that time. So, I think that's probably the biggest thing, timing and accuracy. That's probably the biggest thing he's got to get back. A week ago, he couldn't throw the ball down the field. So, and it's like a lot of medical things, it's day by day. You just never know what the timing is going to be for the response, how guys heal, that type of deal. But looks like his strength is good. So now it's just a matter of just, getting back in the groove a little bit.
You guys have had a couple of injuries, this year to secondary on the offense as well. Just one of those guys, Riley Moss, was out for about a month. Just the progression of an athlete just getting back onto the field, and just the challenge it is just to get him back accumulated, acclimated to playing, and then how Riley, played on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of factors involved. I think one, start with is, the thing we just alluded to is Spencer, his position's a little different because there's a lot of timing with the throws and working with the receivers, that type of deal. So that's one factor. The other, what position a guy plays. The other big factor, I think, is the experience level of a player. So you talk about a guy like Riley who's played a lot of football. He was sore Sunday, not damaged, but sore, which is natural because, just the course of, the volume, the stopping and starting, all that kind of stuff, accelerating. That he did Saturday doesn't compare what he did in a single practice. So that was to be expected. But to your point, I think experienced guys tend to come back a little quicker and they get sharper quicker than maybe a younger guy who hasn't played as much. And we've had all the scenarios play out this year, but it's part of football. I am kind of curious. It's funny. I just think I caught something from Mark Farley about he talked about their injuries, and I know they played in a more condensed year. But I'm going to be interested when the season's over just to see what it looks like college football-wise, what the injury situation is. I think the numbers are high, coming an inordinate amount, but you'd expect that. We've we detrained a year ago basically as a team. You know, most teams did because of the COVID interruptions and all that stuff. So maybe some parallels to when the NFL had the lockout and shortened seasons, but that's a whole discussion for a different day. I'm on a tangent, but yeah. Anyway, Riley's doing well.
How's Mason doing?
Good, actually good. He's making really good progress, and he might have a chance next week. So we'll see. But he's upbeat. Everything tests they give him, he's able to pass, and he's moving on to the next phase. So that's encouraging. And if he can make it next week, that'd be great. If not, we'll at least have him after that.
Whenever something like this happens with Coach Beal, I'm sure every college, especially after what happened last year, has some type of contingency plan in place if a coach has to miss time for any reason. Is that the case here as well at Iowa?
Oh, I'm irreplaceable. I mean, there's no, no. The fact is, head coaches, you guys haven't figured this out yet, and don't tell anybody. We don't do a hell of a lot on game day, we always think everybody has a plan, especially last year. You had to really check your blueprint a little bit because of it was just so prominent. And there's always, plan A, plan B. But in all seriousness, I think things would run really pretty smoothly if I wasn't there. It's not like everybody's got an assignment, everybody's got their deal, and everybody works together too. So I think, things would flow pretty seamlessly. And, you just hope you don't have to experience that. Looked like I was going to last year, and then our game got canceled. But, we were ready to roll. Yeah.
What are the most important things you do on game day?
Probably not talk to anybody because I'd bring everybody down. I'm just, you got all those negative thoughts in your head before a game of all the things that could go wrong. But no, you're trying to set the tempo a little bit for things. And that starts on Friday. And really, in all seriousness, on Saturday, I try to give everybody space, especially our players. We talked to them about, how important it is they prepare every day of the week. But I think once they, tell them, a couple of things on Friday night, late Friday night, and then after that, pretty much from dinner on, we kind of let them have their space, let them do what they have to do in their own ways to be ready. And everybody's got a little different mode, I think, in a routine. So really, it's just pretty much setting the table during the course of the week, and then, you say a couple things before games, but that's highly overrated, I really think, in terms of the way a team plays. And then, pretty much during the game, and the game's being played by the players, the coaches are orchestrating it, and, you offer a suggestion here and there to whomever, or ask a couple questions, that type of thing. But pretty much, the coaches and the players are the ones really operating things.
It looks like more than that, though. It looks like for 3.5 hours, it's pretty intense and you're pretty hyperactive.
Yeah, but it's trying to be encouraging. Like 99% of it is encouraging. And that's just me. I think that's what everybody needs on Saturdays, and our critiques and corrections, all those things, we try to get them done during the week. But, if you see something it's obvious, it might be a player's technique or, suggestion about a call or something like that, you just throw those in, and that's pretty much it. And then, like the other night, we had a clear decision at the end of the game how to play it, and we chose the latter, and or option B or A. I don't know which one it was. For me, it was A. So, those kinds of decisions you're involved in. Yep.
What led to the move on the depth chart from Tyrone to Keegan at the starting spot?
Well, Keegan's just been performing really well, and we like both of those guys, and Tyrone's a really good football player. It's not that big a deal, quite frankly. It depends on personnel groups, which we're not going to list all those, but, I think right now we've got a pretty healthy group of receivers, probably 4 or 5 guys that we have an awful lot of confidence in, and obviously Aaron's made some plays, and then Charlie, has shown that he's really developed into a good receiver too. Tyrone's been a good player, and Nico's been a good player. Seems like forever, but so I think we got a pretty healthy group going right there. It's not a big deal. Yep.
I'm assuming you heard about his tweet with some
Yep.
frustration about the Swiss Army knife.
Sure.
What was your reaction to that?
I think that's a young guy who wants to help the football team. I think that's his way of expressing it, and it's a common way people express things nowadays, I've been told. So I'm gonna try and understand that part of it, but I'm not that interested in understanding it either.
But this is an interesting senior day, not simply because some seniors can come back next
Yep.
year. And At what point will you start to have those conversations with the handful that have that opportunity to, is that after the postseason, or is that in the interim between whenever the regular season ends and then the postseason? I mean,
Kind of, I made the rounds, just, touch and go temperature back during our bye week, with guys that where it might, be appropriate. And then, we'll talk more specifically here once the season's over. So, December, there's all kinds of time in December to start thinking a little bit more, vividly about that or concretely about that. And, it's almost just kind of get the temperature back in whenever that was, October. Now we'll talk a little bit more in December.
does the scholarship situation figure into this? Because you're going to have a small class anyway, signing, and there aren't very many seniors going to begin with. So how much does that figure into whether you want to bring back guy A, B, or C?
I think we've got room to do whatever. You kind of guesstimate, I guess, what might happen, could happen either way. And we've been mindful of that as we've recruited too. So I think we've got a pretty good plan in place. And I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. And there's a lot of, talk in our group, the FCA, about, this and that and all this stuff. And I'm not sure it's as big a deal for us as maybe everybody else, or maybe it's not that big a deal for anybody. But, it seems like we're talking a lot more about it than probably need to be. That's just my, observation from 10,000 feet.
Speaking of seniors, how have you seen Kyler Schott grow into his current role from walk-on?
Yeah, he was a walk-on that didn't look like much, quite frankly, when he showed up here. And then I think it was about 3 summers ago, coming out of camp, where I just kind of made the observation with our guys. I said, you got to get beyond what he looks like sometimes. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but he doesn't look like Tristan Wirfs, I'll put it that way. So, but you just watch him. The guy's really producing. He's really doing a good job, and he's not that freshman that didn't know how to do anything like most first-year guys don't. So he just worked hard, clearly was listening, paying attention, and it was showing up in his play. And that, like I said, it was that camp where it really hit me, like, this guy's really doing a good job. With his, not that there aren't things he can get better at, and then he just keeps taking steps. So we're really glad he's back and back healthy.
How helpful is it to have him as kind of a veteran presence on a young offensive
Oh,
line?
it's huge. We just, we're banking on he and Cody as well as Tower. It gives you a good, veteran group in the middle there. So, you break in a couple tackles. We did that a couple of years ago. But, all of a sudden we were, Tower's the only guy really with significant experience. So it's especially at that position, it's nice to have some guys that have played and know the ups and downs and how to make adjustments, those types of things. So good to get him back in the lineup. And I think Cody's been able to practice pretty well. Last week he had a pretty good week. He's really practicing well so far this week. So hopefully that, momentum is building in a positive way.
The improvement in Illinois' defense between last year and this year is dramatic. How and why?
Well, a lot of veteran guys, I'll start there. But I say that with a asterisk because, they're veteran guys playing different positions. And you start their 2 outside backers, at least that's what they look like to us. They're playing on their feet, and last year they were playing in 3-point stances and playing really well. Not only on, third downs, but good first down players too. So now they've asked those guys to take a new identity, and, they've done a really good job with it. And so that's impressive, but they've got a good scheme. It's a good system. We got exposure to that with our bowl draw against Missouri. A game never got played, but at least, we got some film study in on them. And, the credit goes to their players because they've really, I think, picked it up pretty adeptly in a short period of time. And they lost one of their better players. That middle linebacker is a really good player. He's out with an injury, so they've kept on playing well. And that's a credit to them as well. So it's a tough scheme to get ready for.
They haven't had a winning season in 10 years. They haven't had a winning Big Ten season since 2007. Do you think that those days are going to be over soon for them? Is that a program that always maybe could have, should have been better than it's been?
Yeah, that's probably an off-season discussion too. But we've had a lot of tough games with them, and I think Brett knows what it takes to win in this conference. Certainly, he's had proven success in the Big Ten. So that's a good starting point. And, he's from the state, so I'm sure he'll do a really good job. And they've got a good staff of coaches. That's very evident watching on film. And the offensive coordinator spent time in this conference, going back prior to the dates you're talking about, and spent time in this state. Did a really nice job at both places he was at. So those are probably the two guys' resumes I'm most familiar with. And the special teams coach was at Air Force forever. And, he's doing a really nice job with those guys. He's got good specialists on top of it. Their whole, their organization is really good. So, I think you can probably win anywhere, if you got the right people, and that's where it all starts.
When you have a high snap count on defense and physical game like the other day, are there other games you've had in history where you tap into like how you recovered from those games and try to get ready for the next week?
Yeah, this time of year we're really mindful anyway. Just whether you play 70 snaps or 20, really mindful of where we're at. And I think I may mention a while ago, Zach made that comment a couple weeks back about last year we only played 8 games, and that impacted me as well. So it's not only November, but it's November even for older guys aren't used to going the 12-lap race. So we're trying to be really mindful, and then we also try to just encourage our guys to be mindful of their personal lives. And you can't play Big Ten football and go to school and do the things you have to do if you're not smart about what you're doing. Pretty much every hour of the day, you got to get your rest. You got to get off your feet. You got to get the right nutrition. All those things that we all talk about. But the key is really paying attention to it because it shows up good or bad on the field. Yeah.
I was going to say, you've had really good luck with a lot of your gray shirt guys. The guys that I remember Matt Vandenberg being one, but Riley Moss being another, where he paid his tuition in the summer, and then you wrote him a letter and his folks a letter and put him on scholarship. And what prompted you to do that with him in particular, and kind of delay that? And then are you just going to start gray shirting guys just because of the?
Yeah, we probably should. I mean, I was talking to one of the scouts. Reese kind of hangs out in that scout room back there. And I guess they were talking about Marshall Yonda, and I told that scout, that shows you how smart we were, huh? Because, we barely offered Marshall. There's so much, luck involved in recruiting, quite frankly. There's a lot of projection, a lot of luck involved. But there are certain attributes, and I remember Riley, I think KB was at his game. I think it was KB or whatever, but or it might have been, I think it was KB. But anyway, his senior year just kind of elevated his play. He was a good athlete that just kept getting better. And I think he's done the same thing here, with every step of the way. He impressed us his first camp. Just, I remember him coming off the edge and blocking a field goal in practice. And, somebody probably screwed it up on offense, but still he got there and did it pretty quick. So that got our attention right off the bat. And then you just keep seeing him do things that, allowed him to build a resume. So he's really turned into a really good player out there at that corner spot. But the bottom line, I think the one commonality is those guys, they get here and they work hard. They really like football and they work hard. And if guys have those two attributes, they have a chance. You got to have requisite skills. And he can run. He can run. So that helps too.
Well, going into that year, if I recall, I think you picked up like 6 defensive backs, and you had some really high star guys. Some guys with a lot of big offers. Yet he kind of vaulted to the front and first, and kind of along the same lines with Kyler Schott, a walk-on by year 3. He's a scholarship guy. What does it say for your program that once they get here, it's kind of like all your stars are in the trash can?
You get judged on performance. I think most of us do in life, or at least you hope you do. So that's a good thing. Guys come here, walk-ons come here knowing they'll get opportunity. And then really, again, it's just what they choose to do with it. Some guys have a little better ability to work harder and, pay attention to the little things that make them successful. And other guys, sometimes, we don't deal much with this, but I see some recruits where like the pinnacle of their athletic career is that signing day. And it's a really special moment. I'm not minimizing that. It's a great achievement, really something to be proud of and happy about. But part of life is understanding too that once you do something, there's another step and you move on. And, if you're not trying to accomplish something, it probably means you're retired. So, not many guys 18 to 22 are retired, hopefully. So they're trying to reach a little further and see if they can't develop. And it's the same thing we try to do during the season. We want to enjoy a win after a game Saturday, and sometimes it's a real small window. Nice bus ride home from Northwestern, but at least we got to enjoy it. And then at some point you turn the page and move on to the next challenge, next obstacle. So, but I think that's really what players have to learn too.
In line with what Scott just asked, Charlie Jones said today that he chose Iowa in part because this is a program that's known for giving players like him an opportunity. He gets here, these players like Riley, Kyler, Van Valkenburg, Jack Kerner, who had a similar story to him and other impact players. Have you seen this senior class kind of embody what this program stands for in that regard?
I can't think of, and this season's not over, so we can't say, boy, it was a great season. But right now our guys they're doing a lot of good things. But you look at any of our successful teams, and you're going to find walk-ons in that equation. Cherry pick like 04, where you had Pete McMahon playing right tackle. You had Tyler Lupke playing on the defensive line, and then in the back end you had Considine, I believe. So there's 3 guys. Take those 3 away from us, and we're probably whatever, like a 6-5 team or a 7-4 team, something like that. So that's kind of been the history of our program. You go back and look, and then you look at special teams a little deeper. And if we lived in the world where we had all 4- and 5-star recruits, maybe it wouldn't be that big a deal. But we don't, and we just evaluate guys on what they do every day at practice and how they do things. And so there's opportunity for anybody that's serious about playing. And so you just never know who those guys are going to be. So it's always kind of fun to watch. And you just think about some of the guys. Jamari Harris was in there, right? Riley goes down, so Jamari's in there, and Riley and Terry were down. Did a really nice job, and he wasn't really high recruited. Terry Roberts wasn't high recruited. So it's what you do once you get there, and or your willingness to try to improve, and a lot of that's mental.
Is departure a surprise, the timing of it, or anything you saw coming?
No, I respect. I said that in the team meeting. I respect anybody. If you don't feel like this is the place to be today, then I always try to caution people when they're making big decisions to take some time and be rational and think about it, because you don't want to do things emotionally if you have time on your side. He was comfortable with it, and we wish him nothing but the best. He's a fine person. So I respect his candidness, and I think it's probably best for him and best for us probably if he's not 100% into it at this point.
What are the similarities and the differences with this Brett Bielema at Illinois team compared to his groups at Wisconsin? Is there anything that you can draw from that for this week?
Sure. I mean, the philosophy of the way they play, and it's really clear right now. They're going to run the football and try to, eat the clock. Sound familiar? And, they also believe in playing good defense. And, that's a pretty good formula for winning football games. So that's, what they're doing right now, and they've got good special teams. And when he's at Wisconsin, they did all those things pretty well, and I think it's not exactly the same scheme defensively, but they're playing good defense. They make you work real hard, and that's what good defenses do, whether you're a 3-man, 5-man, whatever, 4-man front, those types of things.
You look and evaluated what Alex did after watching the film. What were your impressions? I mean, low completion percentage, but the yards per completion were off the charts because of the way you attacked down the field. I mean, what was your overall impression?
Yeah, especially this year, we're not a big stat team, and so you don't focus too much on that. If we want more completions, throw more bubble screens, that's one way to do it, or whatever. But I thought he played effectively, and first 2 things that come to mind. I think he just shows poise out there, which is you hope your quarterback's got poise, and it's easier said than done sometimes. But I think he's played with poise for as little as he's played for 2 games now. I think that's been an impression. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. One of the most impressive things, I think, and sounds like kind of routine, but his ability to throw the ball away. There were a couple of plays the other day where he threw it away, and he was on the scramble or on the move and got outside and just got rid of the ball instead of taking a negative yardage play. And those are little things, but they're really big. Negative yardage plays really, just they hit you. It's not only the yards, but there's an emotional tug to that hits you a little bit. And it just shows an awareness mentally, I think, too, that it's impressive. But I'm not shocked because, we've been watching him for 2 years now, working a lot with the offense. So I think he's worked hard. He's paid his dues, and it's showing up with good, solid play out there. So, happy about that.
How much difficulty is there when you have a player with as much equity as Spencer's had, and yet now, and especially at that position, unlike the others, because you can move guys around.
Right.
And then you've reached this part where you got two guys, but eventually somebody's gonna play. You had the same issue 7 years ago with Jake Rudock, was kind of in the same position, really accomplished player. I mean, how difficult is that for you, especially with that position, to kind of deal with that?
If it is a problem, it's a good problem, because at least, it could have gone the other way too, where, oh my God, how long is this going to last? So that's good. And right now we're really kind of living in the moment, but if it ends up being a discussion, we'll have that discussion whenever it's appropriate. And but it's a good thing, and it's not surprising, again, just because of the body of work, what we saw. But as you know, I've said before too, you never know until a guy gets in a game what's going to really happen. So, the way I'm looking at it right now, we got two guys that I think I speak for everybody. I think we all have confidence in both players. They're good guys, they're invested, and they're good players. And, Spencer's got a good resume, and now Alex has got one started here, so that's positive for us.
Thanks, everyone.